Welcome to another real-time trade. In this video, I'll discuss several ways to manage the trade to empower you to design a trade management model that suits your unique mental wiring. This is the stuff of the real game. Now let's join the trade in progress. Hey guys, Czar here. Hope all is well. Good morning to you. It's 9:35 Monday morning, Monday, October 16th. Hope you had an amazing weekend. And we're back in the game. Let's see what's happening here. I'm just looking at the three sisters here on near the open. We're 5 minutes in, almost 6 minutes in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're working on candle number 6 here on the 1 minute charts of the three sisters. NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow side by side with VWAP. You got volume weighted average price here, the blue line, with 2.5 standard deviation bands on either side. I also use a couple of EMAs, and it's the 9 and 21. Doesn't matter what you use, really. Within reason, that's just what I choose, and you can certainly choose whatever works for you, just to give some perspective, some relative perspective between the three of these. Looking for things like synchronicity, divergence, asynchronicity, asymmetry, all kinds of different things, relative strength, relative weakness, all that good stuff. And then helping to make decisions on the main screen here. Let's go to the NASDAQ on my main trading grid. This is my main trading grid, by the way, for those who are new. Daily chart up in the top left, 30-minute in the bottom left, and then a 1, 2, or 3 minute chart on the right-hand side. This is the 1 minute chart. System's a little slow today. See, that took a while to load up there, and I might have to do a restart somewhere along here. My computer's been very busy all weekend, and I did not do a restart here on Monday. I don't always need to, but might have been a good idea today. Be watching this, guys. I'll be cutting out dead air, non-teaching moments, sideways grinding action, things like that to keep this video nice and tight as always. This is the NASDAQ breaking into a fresh, clean traffic zone here. This arrow means clean traffic. It does not mean I necessarily believe that this is going to go all the way to the top here or then even higher. This is just to show that we have a clean traffic to the left situation. That's the NASDAQ. This is the S&P now. Same sort of thing. We're just kind of rocketing through here on this first candle in the 30-minute chart in the clean traffic area. Dow. This is the Dow. We're actually tapping a key resistance area here from yesterday, which rejected higher than where we are right now, as you can see on the left-hand side here. We'll see what happens and how this reacts and potentially even rejects. So those are the three sisters. I'll put you on pause now and bring you back as things materialize here. All right, guys, we're back watching the three sisters here after a day of really just sitting around for 2 hours now. It's 11:32. Been sending notes to my Telegram group telling them just that I got nothing here. This is a lockout rally, and now we're getting some sideways action and a little bit of a breakdown here. And so I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled on this. You can see that I've expanded. You can see if I contract to show both 2.5 standard deviation bands, and things get pretty grindy. So I'm really just zooming in here. Breakdown now on the Dow, guys, right here. You see that? Breakdown on the Dow. All right, guys. Short. Right here. I'd like to see it pull back to that line if I can. Right there. And in, guys. And in right there. Right there. My stop is above. 53-point stop. I'll refine these markers here in a moment. I just want to check my own brackets, make sure that I'm good to go. And yes, I am. One moment. Okay. Good. All right. My primary target, first target will be 1 hour. So 53 points, which will be right here. Second target is 1.5 hour. There. My third target will be 2 hour. And now the coin's been tossed. First trade of the week, first trade of the day, of course, and waiting for things to play out here. I'll explain a little bit more about this trade in a moment. You can see here this is a zone reversal trade after a really big run up here today through the London session as well as the New York session so far. Now we are going into the twilight zone and I'm taking a trade anyway. Given what we've seen here, this lockout rally, I will sometimes trade during the twilight zone. That means after Europe is closed, which just happened 4 minutes ago. It's 11:34 right now. When all of Europe is essentially closed for the day, and only North America is doing their thing, and global players, of course, as well. And now waiting for some weakness, some gravity to come in here from the drying up of volume of all the players that have left this game. We'll see if that actually happens here. We get like a VWAP reversion trade. Let me show this to you from this standpoint. Let me show you on the Dow here. VWAP is way down here. I'm not suggesting that we'll come all the way back and tap it. We may, but this is just to play a little bit of a move back towards VWAP. And the same thing would likely happen on the S&P and of course on the NASDAQ as well. We'll see. But short the Dow, and now being patient, I'll put you on pause and we will edit out dead air and non-teaching moments and things like that. See you in a bit. And target 1 has been hit. And so the 1 hour all or nothing trader has exited the trade with full profitability. We'll see if this can continue on to the 1.5 and in 2 hours. See if we can get a complete reversal here. Just to be clear, guys, this is a zone reversal trade. We didn't actually tap a previous zone, but we created a new one. And you see after this big extended shift bar, that's SHIFT, just to be clear, we had a break below, and I sold the break below. You can see it there. Actually, what I'll do is copy and paste this marker over in a moment when you're on pause, and you can see that very, very clearly here. And so what I'll do too, guys, is right now is I'll revise these zones right now as we speak. All we do is just shift this up. You can see this is a newly formed resistance zone after a very significant run up, right? So all the way through, this is Asia, by the way, sideways Asia, narrow range, then expanding range through London. This is the European session here, rallying all the way through. We had a couple of little bearish pullbacks, not really bearish, but pullbacks, rests, if you will, and then a big explosive move. We did pull back down temporarily and then fired back up again. And this happened on the S&P and the NASDAQ as well, by the way. And so even when this broke below here, this is not a sell signal for me, especially when you see the strength or saw the strength in the NASDAQ and the S&P. Just in case sometimes they get a question, why don't you always just enter on a break of a candle? Well, it's not enough. I need a whole lot of confluence and confirmation from other things. But what we did see is here, let's go to the Three Sisters, is the topping and then failure, sideways grinding action on NASDAQ, S&P, and the Dow, all at the same time, and that's important. You can see when I put my marker here, see the vertical line on the S&P? Notice where it falls on the other ones, right? On the Dow and on the NASDAQ. Well, the NASDAQ failed to reach a new high. The S&P did, and so did the Dow here, right? So the weakest one was actually the NASDAQ for a while there. And then eventually all of them capitulated, and then we got the break of structure below here. And so that's where I entered. You could see here, right? Pull back, failed to reach a new high, break down below, which also happens to be breaking of the low of that blue candle. So opposite color candle, and then selling down into the weakness towards VWAP. Another very important piece, as I mentioned earlier, is the time of day. This is the 11:30 candle here on the bottom right, bottom left-hand side, pardon me, a 30-minute candle. It's the 11:30 30-minute candle. That is the start of what I call the twilight zone, kind of going into lunch hour. It's when Europe has completely and utterly closed. All this gigantic machine of buying and selling, really a big participant in all this run-up that you see here, is now out of business, right? They've closed for the day. They've closed shop. They're done for the evening. And so things change, and very often we get a gravity move after a big move up like that, starting during lunchtime, as that buying pressure subsides, buying interest subsides, and we see what this is, how this is playing out now. Let me show you again the higher time frame, sisters. This is a big piece of it here as well. Notice how this horizontal line, by the way, is yesterday being Friday's high and low down here. These were inside days for most of the session, certainly for all of Europe and for a good portion of the start of New York. But then we penetrated on the Dow. we penetrated but then failed on the S&P, we didn't penetrate on the NASDAQ. And so this is a case of actually selling the strongest to pull back to align with these two, or at least get somewhere in this vicinity in terms of structural pullback. Hopefully that helps, guys. I've been asked to give even more detail about my mindset and what I'm thinking about in my trades, and so hopefully I'm accomplishing that in this video by really telling you all the little bits that I'm thinking of and pulling together in order to orchestrate this trade idea. Hopefully that helps. Back on pause and I'll bring you back. And we're back, guys. Look at that. We've just hit 1.5 hour. That's target 2. Happened very quickly on the 1 o'clock candle, or coming up to. We're actually 2.5 minutes away from it, but very often this is the twilight zone. Typical. You hear me talk about this all the time on my videos and in my Telegram group. The sideways grind of the twilight zone. I very often don't even trade through this period, but today I did after the big run up that you see here on the bottom left hand side. So sometimes I make an exception, as I mentioned. But now we've getting some volume, now we're getting some volume coming back in at around the 1 o'clock mark, very typical. And we get this little bit of a range expansion here, tapping the 1.5 hour target. So the 1.5 hour trader now has exited the trade with full profitability, and it's only the 2 hour all or nothing trader that's still in here, waiting to see what happens. Of course, scale out traders as well may have scaled out here, target 1, target 2, and so on and so forth, perhaps moving their stop to break even. You get it. I mean, there are 1,000 ways to manage these trades, and with all the different combinations that can be done here. And now we'll see how this plays out for the rest of the trade. Be right back. And we're back, guys, watching this drop real hard now. You can see prices pulled all the way back to a break-even point, and now has hit target 2. The trade is over. Took a long time. This video is actually 3 hours and 45 minutes long. I started it at the open of New York, which goes way back to here. Got locked out here for the beginning, and then eventually got a nice trade. Thanks for being here, gang. Hope you have an amazing afternoon. I'm sure we'll talk to you a little bit later. Otherwise, have a great evening. Take care now.